In the dead of night, under a sky torn open by thunder, millionaire Alexander Harrington burst through the front door of his sprawling mansion, his heart pounding like a war drum. Rain lashed against the windows like furious accusations, and the power had flickered out, plunging the house into an eerie darkness broken only by the erratic flashes of lightning. He had returned early from a business trip, driven by an inexplicable unease that had gnawed at him during the flight, and now, as he raced up the grand staircase, he heard it, a piercing scream from his daughter Sophia's room, followed by the crash of shattering glass. Flinging the door open, he froze at the sight. His maid, Elena, crouched protectively over Sophia's small, trembling form on the bed, her body a human shield against the storm's wrath as wind howled through a broken window, shards of glass glinting like daggers on the floor. Elena's arms were wrapped tightly around the girl, whispering soothing words Alexander couldn't make out, her face etched with a fierce determination that bordered on desperation. In that moment, as lightning illuminated the scene, Alexander's world tilted on its axis. He had always seen Elena as just the help, reliable but distant, yet here she was, risking everything for his special daughter, a child whose fragile condition had isolated her from the world. What truth lay hidden behind this act of raw, unyielding protection? Little did he know, the revelation would shatter his carefully constructed life and rebuild it from the ashes of long-buried secrets. If you believe in the power of kindness and the beauty of second chances, hit that like button, drop a comment below sharing your thoughts, share this video with someone who needs a reminder of humanity's warmth, and don't forget to subscribe to Kindness Speaks for more stories that touch the soul and inspire the heart. Alexander Harrington had built his empire from nothing, a self-made millionaire whose tech company revolutionized data security for governments and corporations alike. His days were a blur of board meetings, international calls, and relentless ambition, a shield against the grief that had haunted him since his wife, Isabella, passed away 5 years earlier from complications during childbirth. Sophia, their miracle child born prematurely with a rare genetic disorder that affected her mobility and cognitive development, became both his greatest joy and his deepest burden. She required constant care, therapies, medications, a world tailored to her vulnerabilities, and Alexander, overwhelmed by the demands of his business and the echo of his loss, had outsourced much of her daily life to professionals. Elena Vargas had entered their lives 3 years ago, a quiet woman in her late 30s with a gentle demeanor and impeccable references, hired as a live-in maid and occasional caregiver. She cleaned the vast rooms of the mansion with meticulous care, prepared meals that Sophia actually enjoyed, and seemed to possess an innate understanding of the girl's needs, from calming her during sensory overloads to encouraging her tentative steps with a walker. Alexander appreciated her efficiency, paying her generously but rarely engaging beyond polite nods in the hallway. He told himself it was enough. After all, his wealth provided Sophia with the best specialists money could buy. Yet, deep down, a gnawing guilt festered. He was a father in name only, more absent than present, his love expressed through checks and distant oversight rather than embraces and bedtime stories. Sophia's condition, a form of cerebral palsy intertwined with mild intellectual disabilities, painted her world in shades of challenge and triumph. At 8 years old, she navigated life with a wheelchair most days. Her legs unsteady and prone to spasms, her speech delayed but her eyes alive with curiosity and unspoken emotions. The mansion, perched on a hill overlooking the city, was her kingdom and her prison, its high ceilings and marble floors echoing her laughter on good days and her frustrated cries on bad ones. Alexander had equipped it with every adaptation imaginable: ramps, voice-activated lights, a therapy room filled with colorful equipment, but he seldom witnessed her using them. Instead, it was Elena who spent hours there, guiding Sophia through exercises with patient encouragement, turning what could have been drudgery into games of imagination. One afternoon, unnoticed by Alexander as he worked in his home office, Elena knelt beside Sophia on the soft mat, helping her stretch her arms toward a dangling mobile of stars. Sophia's face lit up with effort, her small hands grasping at the twinkling lights, and Elena's voice wove tales of constellations coming to life, distracting the girl from the pain of her muscles protesting. These moments accumulated like unspoken bonds, Elena becoming the steady anchor in Sophia's stormy sea, while Alexander buried himself deeper in work, convincing himself that providing was the same as parenting. But cracks began to show. Sophia's therapists noted her growing attachment to Elena, her reluctance to engage without the maid's presence, and Alexander dismissed it as dependency, not recognizing the void he had left unfilled. As months turned into years, Alexander's empire faced its own trials. A rival company launched a smear campaign, accusing his firm of data breaches that never occurred, and the stress mounted like storm clouds. Late nights became the norm. His interactions with Sophia reduced to brief goodbyes in the morning and exhausted hellos upon return. He noticed Elena's quiet efficiency more acutely during these times. She ensured Sophia's routines remained unbroken, her medications administered on schedule, her bedtime stories read with a warmth that Alexander envied but couldn't replicate. There were subtle signs he overlooked, the way Elena's eyes lingered on Sophia with a depth beyond duty, the faint scars on her wrists that she hid under long sleeves, the occasional faraway look as if memories pulled her elsewhere. One evening, after a particularly grueling day in court defending his company's reputation, Alexander returned home to find the house unusually silent. Wandering to the garden patio, he spotted Elena and Sophia under the twilight sky, the girl in her wheelchair pointing at fireflies while Elena described them as tiny lanterns carrying wishes. For a fleeting moment, Alexander felt a pang of jealousy, not for their bond, but for the simplicity of it, a connection unmarred by his complications. He turned away, retreating to his study, where spreadsheets and emails offered control in a life spinning out of it. Little did he know, Elena carried her own burdens, secrets woven into the fabric of her daily acts, her protection of Sophia rooted in a history that would soon unravel everything. The challenges deepened as Sophia's health took a turn. Her condition, while stable, was unpredictable. Flare-ups of pain and fatigue left her bedridden, her spirit dimmed like a candle in the wind. During one such episode, Alexander was away on a crucial overseas deal, leaving Elena to manage alone. She sat by Sophia's bedside through feverish nights, cooling her forehead with damp cloths, singing lullabies in a soft Spanish accent that evoked distant memories for the girl. Elena's hands trembled not from fatigue but from the weight of unspoken truths, her mind replaying the past, a life of hardship in a small town, choices made in desperation, a child lost to circumstances beyond her control. Alexander, upon returning, found Sophia improved, her smile returning, and he thanked Elena curtly, attributing the recovery to the doctors rather than the maid's tireless vigil. But doubt crept in. He began installing discreet security cameras around the house, ostensibly for safety amid his business threats, but partly to monitor the dynamics he felt slipping from his grasp. The footage revealed glimpses of Elena's devotion, her reading to Sophia with animated expressions, their shared giggles over silly drawings, the way she anticipated the girl's needs before they arose. It stirred something in Alexander, a mix of gratitude and unease, as if Elena's care highlighted his shortcomings. He struggled with this internally, nights spent staring at the ceiling, wrestling with the ghost of Isabella and the father he aspired to be but failed to embody. Tension built like a gathering storm. Alexander's rivals escalated their attacks, sending anonymous threats that hinted at personal vulnerabilities, mentioning his precious daughter in veiled warnings. Paranoia set in. He hired private security, but the mansion felt less like a fortress and more like a cage. Sophia, sensing the undercurrents, grew anxious, her meltdowns more frequent, clinging to Elena as her safe harbor. One rainy afternoon, as thunder rumbled in the distance, Alexander overheard Elena on the phone in the kitchen, her voice hushed but urgent, speaking of protecting her at all costs, and the truth can't stay hidden forever. Suspicion flared. Who was she talking to? Was she involved in the threats? He confronted her later that evening, his tone sharp, demanding explanations, But Elena met his gaze with calm deflection, assuring him it was a family matter unrelated to his household. Unsatisfied, Alexander delved deeper, reviewing camera logs obsessively, his struggle manifesting in sleepless nights and snapped tempers. Meanwhile, Elena's own battles intensified, health issues she kept secret, pains that mirrored Sophia's but born from different scars, driving her to pour every ounce of energy into the girl. The narrative of their lives intertwined further, each day layering suspense as Alexander edged closer to discovery, his emotional walls cracking under the pressure of impending revelation. Change whispered in subtle shifts. Alexander, exhausted from the corporate warfare, began spending more time at home, observing Elena and Sophia with fresh eyes. He joined them for a meal one evening, watching as Elena patiently helped Sophia navigate her fork, praising her efforts with genuine delight. For the first time, he saw not just a maid, but a woman of quiet strength, her laughter lines telling stories of resilience. Sophia's joy in his presence sparked a flicker of hope in him, a reminder that fatherhood wasn't lost. Yet, challenges persisted. A particularly vicious business leak forced him to cancel a planned outing with Sophia, leaving her disappointed and him riddled with guilt. Elena stepped in seamlessly, turning the day into an indoor adventure, building forts from blankets and sharing tales of brave heroines who overcame odds. Alexander, peeking from his office, felt a stirring regret, questioning his priorities. As the storm of his professional life raged on, personal tempests brewed, Elena's secretive calls increased, her protectiveness bordering on possessiveness, fueling Alexander's suspicions. He hired a private investigator, the results trickling in like puzzle pieces. Elena's background held gaps, a history of loss and relocation that didn't add up. The suspense mounted, each revelation peeling back layers, drawing him into a web of emotion he hadn't anticipated. The turning point arrived on that fateful stormy night, the one that would etch itself into Alexander's memory like a scar. The power outage had disabled the alarms, and as rain battered the estate, an intruder, hired by his rivals to intimidate, slipped through the perimeter, targeting Sophia's room as a message of vulnerability. Alexander, arriving unexpectedly early, heard the chaos unfold, the window smashing, Sophia's terrified cry, Elena's defiant shouts as she positioned herself between the child and the shadowed figure. By the time Alexander burst in, Elena had already fended off the assailant with a nearby lamp, her body bruised but unyielding, the intruder fleeing into the night. Police sirens wailed in the distance as Alexander knelt beside them, his hands shaking as he checked Sophia for injuries. Elena, blood trickling from a cut on her forehead, held Sophia close, her eyes meeting Alexander's with a mix of defiance and vulnerability. In the aftermath, as medics tended to them in the flickering emergency lights, Alexander demanded answers. Why had she risked her life so fiercely? Elena, her resolve crumbling under the weight of the moment, finally confessed the truth he never expected. It poured out in a torrent of emotion, the story of a young woman desperate and alone, giving birth to a premature baby girl in a rundown clinic years ago. That child, born with the same genetic markers that would later manifest as Sophia's condition, was Elena's daughter, surrendered for adoption under pressure from circumstances, poverty, an abusive partner, the fear of inadequacy. Isabella, Alexander's late wife, had arranged the private adoption through discreet channels, longing for a child after multiple miscarriages, unaware of the full backstory. Elena, haunted by regret, had searched for years, tracing leads until she discovered the Harringtons. Posing as a maid with forged references, she infiltrated their world not for revenge, but for redemption, to watch over her daughter from afar, to protect the life she couldn't provide. The scars on her wrists, from a suicide attempt in the depths of her grief post-adoption. The secretive calls to a support group for birth mothers, venting the pain of proximity without possession. Alexander listened, his world shattering as pieces aligned, Sophia's inexplicable bond with Elena, the maid's intuitive care, the shared mannerisms he had dismissed as coincidence. Emotion crashed over him, shock, anger at the deception, but beneath it, a profound empathy for Elena's sacrifice, mirroring his own losses. In the days that followed, the mansion transformed from a house of secrets to one of tentative healing. Alexander, reeling from the revelation, arranged DNA tests that confirmed the truth, his initial fury giving way to understanding as he delved into Elena's past records. Sophia, resilient in her innocence, adapted to the shifting dynamics, her world expanding with two parental figures now openly devoted. Challenges lingered, legal complexities of custody, Alexander's business threats resolved through arrests, Elena's health revealing a treatable condition exacerbated by stress. But change bloomed in vivid scenes, family therapy sessions where tears flowed freely, shared meals filled with laughter, Alexander learning to braid Sophia's hair under Elena's guidance. He stepped back from his empire, delegating to trusted aides, rediscovering the joy of fatherhood amplified by Elena's maternal wisdom. Their bond evolved, not into romance, but a partnership forged in forgiveness, Elena moving from maid to co-guardian, her presence no longer hidden but celebrated. Sophia thrived, her steps steadier, her voice stronger, inspired by the adults who modeled resilience. As the seasons turned, the trio built a new life, the mansion echoing with genuine connection. Alexander reflected on his journey, from distant tycoon to engaged father, grateful for the storm that exposed the truth. Elena found peace in reunion, her protective instincts validated, her heart mended by Sophia's unconditional love. The story, once shrouded in suspense, resolved into inspiration, a testament to second chances and the unbreakable ties of family. If this story has touched your heart, stirred emotions you didn't expect, or reminded you of the profound impact of kindness in our lives, please like, comment, and share it far and wide. Let it reach those who need its message. And subscribe to Kindness Speaks for more tales that celebrate the human spirit. Before we end, I'd love to hear from you. Comment below with a line about a moment of unexpected kindness that changed your life, and let's spread that warmth together.